Hello and welcome, I'm Sanjay Pinto. Have you ever thought of this? Every time you hand over proof of your identity, either a photocopy of your ration card or driving license or voter ID or passport, that could well fall into the wrong hands. Yes, that photocopy could well be misused to get a mobile SIM card in your name without your knowledge. And that connection could be used for some unlawful purpose. And that's because mobile service providers and retailers don't care to insist on original documents, but instead they settle for a mere photocopy as proof of your identity, as proof of your address. Now, after zeroing in on a person who used fake documents to get a SIM card in a former colleague's name and then made bomb hoax calls, the Chennai police has decided to tighten the screws on retailers who sell those tiny chips. Now, don't forget how the Mumbai police recently arrested a man with 80,000 SIM cards. That's right, 80,000 SIM cards. On the big question tonight, we are asking you, are mobile phone operators simply ringing in danger? We've got the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Adyar, Dr. Senthil Velan, G. Rajan, Secretary General of the Consumer Association of India, Kumar, a mobile phone user, and our crime correspondent Salim. But that discussion on the lurking danger and what precautions you and I can take will come up in a few minutes after the top stories with Natasha Duraiswamy. Natasha?
Well, that's the big question, discussion really that's coming your way through this 1 hour wheel at 9 p.m. But first, let's take you through the headlines this evening. The stench of land grab points towards former DMK Minister K.N. Nehru. Complainant alleges 25 crore worth property was taken. Attacked Pandi whilst in prison is DMK strongman Alagiri's second close associate, now to be clamped under the Gundas Act. Masked armed robbers in Ashoknagar leave scot-free with cash and jewels worth 1.5 lakh rupees. World University Service Centre requires more transparency. High Court orders Madras University Vice Chancellor to take stock of its functioning. The Chief Minister offers 200 crore rupees for technology-based solutions in the Tirupur dying unit crisis, also suggests two options to attain zero effluent discharge. Is it that simple to fake an ID and acquire a SIM card? Retailers are now under the magnifying glass for proper verification of documents. Pay fines for late bill payments, but facing malfunctioning billing counters is the reality check for citizens of Chennai. Well, those are the top stories from the state. Let's also take a look at everything that's making news on the national front. A defiant Yediyurappa finally ends resistance and quits as the Chief Minister of Karnataka says he will abide by his party's decision. Cabinet clears the anti-corruption Lokpal bill, decides that the Prime Minister will be exempted from the bill. Anxiety over America's looming debt crisis drives down the global market. Sensex opens in the red. England fast bowler James Anderson says that Team India will bounce back hard in the second test. Well, it's over now to Sanjay Pinto for the big question tonight.
Thank you, Natasha. Before we actually go into that discussion, let's play you a story. Now, days after the Mumbai police arrested a man, as I said earlier, with 80,000 SIM cards, the police in Chennai have also turned the heat on retailers selling these SIM cards without due background checks. Now, the police say criminal action is being initiated against such retailers selling SIM cards containing fake ID proofs. This after it became evident that almost all the cases of death threats to VVIPs in the city were done using SIM cards after submitting fabricated documents. Our crime correspondent Salim has more.
A fortnight ago, the police control room in Egmore received a threatening call where the caller said bombs were planted in the secretariat, specifically targeting the Chief Minister. After screening the secretariat for explosives, police launched a hunt for the caller. Investigations revealed that the caller, 36-year-old Yogeshwaran, a dismissed lecturer from a private college in Madurantagam, had misused the photo identity of his colleague to purchase the SIM card. Both he and the retailer who sold the SIM have been arrested.
We can definitely prosecute the retailers. It's happened in some cases. In fact, if you are aware, some time back the wholesalers went on strike against the company, saying that you are forcing us to sell cards. They are doing pre-activated cards are being sold.
Police say criminal action is being taken against those who sell these cards without proper verification, after it emerged that over 30% of the accused use SIM cards bought with bogus ID and photographs.
SIM card வாங்க வராங்க அப்படினா voter ID அவங்களுடைய photo அப்படி இல்ல அப்படினா ரேஷன் கார்டு ஜெராக்ஸ் அந்த photo ரேஷன் கார்டுல யாருடைய ஜெராக்ஸ் இருக்கோ அவங்க photo தான் கொடுக்கணும் அது ரெண்டு ஐடி ப்ரூஃப் இருந்தா தான் கரெக்ட்டா இருந்தா தான் ஜெராக்ஸ் அவங்களுக்கு நாங்க SIM கார்டு உபயோகப்படுத்துவோம்.
Cyber cops say retailers are being prosecuted on charges of abetting the crime. The Chennai police have so far chaired 8 meetings with service providers, urging them to be more proactive. Guidelines and circulars were issued to regulate bulk SMSs, but police say service providers are not very proactive either.
When contacted, the service providers point a finger at the retailers shrugging off any responsibility. The police says SIM cards are not products to be sold in petty shops and that it's high time the telecom regulatory authorities step in. In Chennai, Salim for NDTV Hindu.
Quite a shocking story there. But joining us live now is Dr. Senthil Veland, who is the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Adyar. Thank you very much, Dr. Senthil, for joining us. First off, who should be more careful really while selling prepaid SIM cards? The retail shops or service providers?
I think it's a shared responsibility of both the retailers and the service providers. The service providers normally they have an agreement with the retailers, strictly laying down the rules and regulations. So probably they should also do a periodical check with all the retailers whether they are enforcing the rules and regulations. And if necessary, probably they can cancel the license of the retailers. And of course, retailers have a major role because they are the ones who are the interface between the society and the provider. So they are the ones who issue it to the public. So it's more of a shared responsibility between the retailers and the service providers.
All right, joint responsibility, the interesting point you're making. But Dr. Senthil Velan, all that is required today to get a SIM card, if you and I just walk into a shop, is a photocopy of our driving license or ration card or passport or voter ID. Now, these can be easily fabricated. Somebody can actually take somebody else's photocopy, stick their picture and then get it photocopied in return. So, shouldn't these people, the retailers and the mobile service operators, actually insist on originals and sell cards only after verification?
Yeah, we'll be happy. The prosecutors and the law enforcers would be happy if they insist on originals. But again, you'll have to balance it between the legal aspects and the commercial aspects. Of course, the rules and regulations enforce, if they are enforced in toto, it should not be a problem. As per the existing rules, the retailers shall issue a SIM card based on the photograph and the ID proof only to the person. He should come in person who was issuing the photograph. For example, if I go and get a SIM card, I'll have to give my photo and my ID proof. I can't do it on a proxy basis. I can't do it for somebody else. So in case they enforce it, I think most of the problems would be solved. Normally they have stock photos and stock ID cards and they give it illegally. That is wrong. That amounts to abetting an offence in case the SIM card has been misused by the person who procures it. For example, in case a person procures a SIM card giving a different photograph and the corresponding ID proof, and in case that is being utilized for some maybe a murder, and the retailer is liable, legally liable to be prosecuted for abetting the offence. We have sections 109 to 120 in the IPC for abetting an offence. And for example, if the card has been misused by for a murder case, and the retailer is liable to be punished for up to 7 years with fine. So they are liable to be punished for abetting the offence. So any person who procures a SIM card shall go in himself in person and give his own photograph and ID proof. He cannot do it on a proxy basis. He cannot go and procure it for some other person's use.